more that way, or would you rather have the city come up with a different way to fund it, or are we just stuck right now because of the economy?
Well, I think this is a poor time to present a full penny, an additional full penny sales tax to the public for things that don't address their real needs.
Right.
But if we're going to address the real needs, and we certainly need to, then it's going to have to be a permanent sales tax, or one at least that we call permanent, not some that's been temporary for 16 or 17 years. We're going to have to address a full sales tax to go to the general fund, or probably more appropriately to a dedicated tax to public safety or whatever, so the citizens know this is where our money's being spent. And if the people will research the resolution passed by the council, it doesn't say this much money will be spent on this project or that project.
No, it doesn't.
It says our intent is to spend the money here. So the public really, in voting yes, is just saying we're going to continue to pay that tax. You do what you will with it.
I mean, essentially, that's absolutely accurate. And of course, the councils change, the council members change. So over the next 6 or 7.5 years that they have planned to collect this tax, which, by the way, they estimate at $100 million a year, and the MAPS tax has never made $100 million a year. And based on these latest figures, doesn't look like it's going to get anywhere near maybe 60 million or 70 million this year with the economy being what it is. There's going to be a chance that they come up short on this $777 million. Now, if they do that, then they're going to be authorized, because there's no legislation, there's nothing in the MAPS ballot. They're going to be authorized to cut programs, and we really don't have any say over which ones. So there's a possibility that maybe 3 or 4 of these projects would get built and maybe none of the other ones. In the meantime, though, you're saying we need more money for more officers, and if you need a dedicated tax for that, then we're looking at another penny or another. And the county wants a penny, too, for the jail. Maybe this just isn't the right time for MAPS.
And that's what we have tried for a couple of months now to address the council.
Right. We need to take a break. We'll be right back with Lieutenant Gil Hensley from the Fraternal Order of Police on KTOK.
Traffic and weather together on the 10s on News Radio 1000 KTOK.
All right, we're talking with Lieutenant Gil Hensley here on the Shannon Show about the FOP and the mayor's comment that this is just a bunch of whiny union guys, which, as you mentioned earlier, is not accurate. Let's talk about, one of the things the mayor said was that it's really odd that the FOP would be against this, because one of the ways we make the city grow and the economy grow is through MAPS. Well, there's no question MAPS has done something, but the question is, since MAPS was implemented in 1993 and the economy has grown and we've had some pretty good years, they still haven't added any police officers.
No, they haven't.
So why would you expect them to add any more? You get my point. Okay. Now, let's talk about another point, too. I understand now, my people tell me that there are less officers responding to 911 calls. Explain that. What's that about?
Okay, since we have not increased personnel, Mark, over the years, over the last 20 years or so, we've had to create some specialized units in the police department to deal with specific crime problems.
Okay.
The gang unit, the Bricktown division, an entire division of officers.
Right, which they had to put down there when they had problems down there. Right?
Some additions to places like white-collar crime, which is rampant in this country. Had to shore that up with some additional investigators. Where do you think those officers came from? You got no new officers. You put officers in these other places. They came from the people out there answering calls for service, 911 calls.
Right.
So we actually have, I have a study done by Chief Sam Gonzalez, and the figures are from December of 1992, but the study was completed in spring of 93, that show we actually had more officers out there answering 911 calls in December of 1992 than we have today.
So what happens is, and they used to do all this on the radio, but a lot of it's done on computer now. So in other words, you've got so many units available, and those calls just stack up, and then they answer them in priority.
Yes, that's
Which explains why a low priority call might be 45 minutes to an hour before you get a response to it.
Yeah, or even longer sometimes.
Yeah. Or if you have 3 high priority calls, that's not good news. So you guys would like to see the city increase. That's your number one concern. The FOP would like to see the city deal with the staffing issues, especially since you're a police officer and FOP, especially in the police department. The firefighters have their own issues too.
Well, and I think all the employee groups are trying to send the same message. It's all city departments. But obviously my specific goal is that we increase police protection or provide adequate police protection for our citizens. Yes.
Hey, Mike, do you know what the questions are? You want to take a question? You want to take a question? You want to take a question from a caller? Okay, we'll take one. Bob, go ahead. Apparently they have the same basic question. Bob, you're on KTOK.
Lieutenant Hensley, thank you very much, first of all, for defending our city and protecting us like you and the rest of the policemen do. I want you to know I very much appreciate what law enforcement does. I question the Department of Homeland Security, but not our local police, just so you know. Here's my question. I would expect that as the population grows, that the revenue for the city and the county would grow as well. And I would expect that the expenses, or the part of that revenue dedicated towards law enforcement, would grow in proportion as well. And it sounds like that hasn't happened.
The 3/4 tax.
That right?
Yeah, the 3/4 tax, since more dollars are coming in, you would get more revenue from that. Thanks, Bob. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that 3/4 sales tax, what it did was add 200 officers in 1989.
Okay.
So that basically
and
funds,
then benefits and salary and
it funds those 200 positions and all the support for them, cars and benefits and everything else. But the problem is that, like we've discussed earlier, as the city's budget has grown, they have not increased staffing. They've done other things with that money. I don't know what they've done with it, and I'm not suggesting that they haven't done appropriate things with it.
Right.
But they have not addressed the manpower issues that all city departments are suffering.
Right. Okay. Well, now, have you been invited to because apparently the Republican, the Capitol Republican Club, or one of them, has asked for a debate, and the mayor will not debate this. Will not get into any controversial settings with this. Have you been asked to speak to any groups yet, or is that something you'll do?
That's something we'll probably be doing. Some groups have contacted me. We're trying to make arrangements so that we can address them. And that really, other than forums like we have here, is going to be the only way we're going to get our message out. The mainstream, for want of a better term, the mainstream media, the televised media at least, has completely locked us out.
That's amazing. And the TV and the newspaper both. Makes me wonder, folks. We got to take a break. Lieutenant Gil Hensley, thanks for dropping by. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk more about this. And you always got an open mic here, so appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Breaking back. Hold on.